I never thought I would be writing something like this on Reddit. Life has a way of throwing unexpected situations at you that make you question everything you thought you knew about people. This is a really messed up situation and I need advice on how to handle it. I'm 28F and my sister Melanie 26F has been married to Mitch 56M for 2 years now. They started dating when she was 22. I know what everyone is thinking, the age gap is insane. Trust me, our whole family freaked out when they first started dating. Our parents tried to talk her out of it, and I spent months trying to figure out if he was manipulating her. But you have to understand Melanie's background to get why we eventually accepted it. Melanie had a really rough childhood. From ages 8 to 18, she was molested by our church choir director. He was this respected member of the community who everyone trusted. Our parents had no idea. Melanie kept it hidden for years because he threatened to hurt me if she told anyone. She only came forward when she found out he was starting to groom another young girl in the choir. The trial was brutal. Half the church sided with him, called Melanie a liar, said she was trying to ruin a good man's life. She spiraled into severe depression after that. For years, Melanie could barely function. She dropped out of college, couldn't hold down a job, had panic attacks whenever older men tried to talk to her. She lived in our parents' basement and barely left her room. We tried everything, different therapists, medications, support groups. Nothing seemed to help. Then she met Mitch at a survivors support group. He was there because his niece had gone through something similar. Mitch seemed different from the start. He was patient with Melanie, never pushed her boundaries, attended therapy sessions with her when she asked. Within months, we started seeing the old Melanie again. She went back to college, got a job, started smiling and laughing again. Even our parents admitted that despite the age gap, Mitch seemed good for her. They got married 2 years ago in a small ceremony. I started getting closer to Mitch about a year ago when my health took a nosedive. The doctors diagnosed me with chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia. Some days I can barely get out of bed. The medical bills are insane even with insurance. Melanie used to help me a lot, driving me to appointments, helping with groceries and cleaning, just sitting with me on bad days. But their financial situation got rough a few months ago. Melanie started working 2 jobs, day shifts at a diner and night shifts at a gas station. She barely has time to sleep, let alone help me anymore. Mitch stepped in to help instead. He would check on me after work, bring groceries, sometimes clean if I was having a really bad day. Melanie was grateful someone could help me when she couldn't. Mitch and I started talking more during these visits, but I swear I never gave any romantic signals. He was like a father figure to me, especially since our own dad passed away last year. Looking back, maybe there were signs I ignored. Mitch would sometimes make comments about how mature I was for my age, how I reminded him of Melanie when she was younger. He started sending texts with heart emojis and kissy faces, but I told myself he was just old and didn't understand what they meant. Melanie had mentioned they were having marriage problems, but I tried not to get involved. Everything changed last week. Someone in my apartment complex posted about having extra cat food to give away. I knew Melanie and Mitch were struggling with money and had 2 cats, so I texted Mitch about it. He came to pick it up the day before his birthday. We talked for about an hour, mostly about Melanie and how exhausted she's been lately. After he left, he sent these texts. Mitch, really appreciate you thinking of us with the cat food. Always nice talking to you, heart, me, no problem. Happy to help you guys out, smiley face. Mitch, you guys? Smiley face, just you and me talking here. Mitch, ever had a birthday wish that you knew you shouldn't ask for but wanted so bad you had to try? Me, what do you mean? Mitch, never mind, forget I asked. I felt physically sick reading those messages. Last month, Melanie confided in me that she and Mitch weren't having sex anymore. She said intimacy was still hard for her because of her trauma, and sex just wasn't something she could handle right now. Mitch's birthday wish text seemed pretty obvious in that context. I've been going crazy trying to decide what to do. Melanie is in such a vulnerable place right now. She's completely financially dependent on Mitch. She had to drop out of college again to work these 2 jobs. She works 16-hour days, has been fighting a bad cold for weeks, and doesn't have any close friends besides me. Finding out her husband is trying to hook up with her sister could destroy all the progress she's made. Mitch has been good to both of us until now. He helped Melanie recover from her trauma, supported her going back to school, and has been helping me with my health issues. When our dad died last year, Mitch handled all the funeral arrangements because Melanie and I were too devastated to function. Maybe he's just sexually frustrated since Melanie stopped being intimate? He's pretty introverted and doesn't interact with many women besides us. Still, trying to hook up with your wife's sister who you've been helping while she's sick is beyond messed up. I'm terrified about how Melanie might react if I tell her. I've read so many stories about people blaming the messenger when they find out about cheating. With my health issues, I really can't afford to lose their support right now. I can barely work part-time and might end up homeless in a few months if things don't improve. My other friends all live hours away and I haven't had the energy to build a local support network due to being sick. What should I do? Tell Melanie and potentially blow up her marriage and support system? Confront Mitch directly? Or just try to distance myself while maintaining the relationship? I feel sick every time I think about those texts. Melanie finally seemed happy and stable, and now I'm holding information that could ruin everything she's built. I can't eat or sleep properly knowing what Mitch did, but I'm also terrified of making the wrong choice and hurting my sister even more. Update 1 first, I want to thank everyone who commented on my original post. I read every comment and spent days thinking about what to do. Most people suggested confronting Mitch first before telling Melanie, saying it would give me a chance to gauge his reaction and maybe get proof of his intentions. That turned out to be the biggest mistake I could have made. I texted Mitch last Wednesday asking if we could talk somewhere public. He suggested meeting at this coffee shop downtown where Melanie used to work, which felt weird but I agreed. I got there early and picked a table near the front where other people could see us. I was so nervous I could barely hold my coffee cup without shaking. Mitch showed up looking completely normal, like he hadn't just tried to hit on his wife's sister 2 weeks ago. He even brought me a muffin, saying he remembered they were my favorite when Melanie worked there. I felt sick watching him act all caring and fatherly while knowing what he'd done. I pulled out my phone and showed him screenshots of his texts. I told him they made me uncomfortable and asked what he meant by that birthday wish comment. His reaction was not what I expected at all. Mitch started crying. Not just a few tears, but full-on sobbing in the middle of the coffee shop. People were staring at us. He kept saying he was so sorry, that he'd been carrying this guilt for weeks. Then he just broke down and started telling me everything. He admitted he was attracted to me. Said it started when he began helping me with my health issues. He saw how strong I was dealing with my illness, how mature I was compared to Melanie. He actually said that, compared me to his wife, my sister, who he knows was sexually abused for years. It made me want to throw up. But then he dropped this bomb that changed everything. He claimed Melanie had suggested bringing another woman into their marriage a few months ago. According to him, she felt guilty about not wanting sex anymore and thought this might be a solution. He said she specifically mentioned maybe asking me since I was already close to them both and understood Melanie's trauma background. I just sat there stunned. This made no sense. Melanie can barely handle being intimate with her husband due to her trauma. She'd never suggest something like this. When I finally found my voice, I told Mitch this was completely inappropriate regardless of whether Melanie suggested it or not. He kept apologizing and begging me not to tell Melanie, saying he'd realized how wrong it was and would never do it again. The whole time he was talking, I kept thinking about how convincing he sounded. If I didn't know Melanie so well, I might have actually believed him. He had this way of making it sound logical, like he was the victim of circumstances. It was terrifying to realize how skilled he was at manipulation. I left the coffee shop feeling worse than before. My head was spinning trying to make sense of everything. Before I could even decide what to do next, my phone started blowing up with texts from Melanie. Mitch had called her right after our meeting and completely twisted everything around. According to him, I had been flirting with him for months. He told her I made suggestive comments while he was helping me, that I dressed inappropriately when he came over, that I engineered the whole coffee shop meeting to make a move on him. He claimed he only went to protect Melanie's feelings and get me to stop pursuing him. Melanie was hysterical on the phone. She kept asking how I could do this to her, how I could try to steal her husband when I knew about her past trauma. I tried to explain my side but she wouldn't listen. I even tried to show her the text screenshots but Mitch had already poisoned her mind against them. He convinced her I had manipulated the conversation to make him look bad. The worst part was listening to her cry and not being able to help. She said she needed space from me, that she couldn't trust me anymore. My own sister, who I've protected and supported through everything, now thinks I tried to seduce her husband. Mitch managed to turn this whole thing around and make me look like the villain. My health has gotten significantly worse from all this stress. I had to quit my part-time data entry job because I couldn't focus or stop shaking. The fatigue is so bad now I can barely leave my bed. My parents know something is wrong but I haven't told them everything. They can see how sick I am though. When I finally broke down and told them what happened, they said I should have just ignored the texts and kept the peace. My mom actually said sometimes older men say inappropriate things and we just have to learn to brush it off. They're more worried about Melanie's stability than anything else. Maybe they're right. Maybe I should have just pretended everything was normal and kept my mouth shut. But every time I think about staying quiet, I remember how Mitch cried in that coffee shop. How easily he spun that story about Melanie wanting a threesome. How quickly he turned everything around on me when he realized I wasn't falling for it. What else is he capable of? What else has he done that Melanie doesn't know about? I've lost my sister, my support system, and my part-time job all because I tried to do the right thing. Now I'm stuck in this horrible situation where I know the truth but can't prove it. Melanie won't talk to me, Mitch has turned everyone against me, and my health is worse than ever. I don't know how to fix any of this. Update: 2 things have gotten so much worse than I could have imagined. Melanie finally discovered the truth about Mitch, but not in the way I expected or hoped. She called me at 3 a.m. last Sunday, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. She had found everything, not just messages to me, but to multiple other young women. The truth is so much uglier than any of us realized. It started when Mitch left his phone unlocked while showering. He'd been acting strange lately, protective of his phone, staying up late texting, getting defensive if Melanie asked who he was talking to. She said something just felt off, so she looked through his messages. What she found destroyed her. There were 3 other women besides me, all in their early to mid-20s. 2 of them, Emma and Rachel, were abuse survivors he met through various support groups. The third, Jessica, was a nursing student at the local hospital where he volunteers. All of them reminded him of Melanie when she was younger, vulnerable, dealing with trauma or stress, needing help and support. The messages went back over a year. He started pursuing these women just months after their wedding. He used the same tactics with all of them. First, he'd offer help with something, driving Emma to therapy appointments, helping Rachel move apartments, giving Jessica rides home when she worked late. Then came the texts with heart emojis, the comments about how mature they were, the suggestive messages about birthday wishes or special occasions. It was like reading my own story played out 3 more times. Melanie found messages where Mitch complained about her to these women. He told them she was mentally unstable, frigid, unable to meet his needs. He even shared details about her abuse history, using her trauma to gain sympathy from other survivors. The manipulation was calculated and cruel. The worst revelation? That story about Melanie suggesting bringing another woman into their marriage was completely fabricated. When Melanie read those messages between Mitch and me about the supposed threesome suggestion, she was confused at first. Then she got angry. She said she would never suggest something like that. She still struggles with intimacy due to her trauma and can barely handle being touched some days. Mitch completely made that up to manipulate me and make Melanie doubt herself if I ever told her about his advances. Melanie moved back in with our parents. She's completely broken, barely eating, not sleeping, blaming herself for not seeing the signs earlier. She keeps saying she should have believed me 3 months ago, that maybe she could have caught him sooner if she had. I try to tell her none of this is her fault, but the guilt is eating her alive. Mitch's reaction to being caught was terrifying. He showed up at our parents' house at 5 a.m. that Sunday, pounding on the door, demanding to talk to Melanie. When our mom threatened to call the police, he switched tactics. Started crying, saying Melanie was having another mental breakdown, that she was imagining things and needed help. He even tried to convince our parents that Melanie's trauma was making her paranoid and she needed to come home with him where he could take care of her. Thankfully, our parents didn't fall for it this time. They've seen all the messages now. Mom finally admitted that she should have listened to her initial instincts about the age gap, about how quickly he swooped in to help Melanie when she was at her most vulnerable. Dad hasn't said much, but he stands guard by the front door every night now, waiting to see if Mitch shows up again. I feel guilty for not pushing harder to make Melanie believe me 3 months ago. Maybe I could have prevented some of this pain. But Mitch is such a skilled manipulator, he had everyone fooled for years. He knew exactly how to use Melanie's trauma against her, how to isolate her from support, how to make her dependent on him. He didn't just groom Melanie, he groomed our whole family into trusting him. The other women have started coming forward too. Emma messaged Melanie saying Mitch had tried the same birthday wish line with her 2 months ago. Rachel admitted he'd been pushing boundaries for months, offering to help her process her trauma in private sessions. Jessica blocked him after he showed up at her workplace uninvited. Each story makes me feel sicker, knowing how many lives he's tried to destroy. We're trying to support Melanie as best we can while she processes all this. She's looking for a lawyer, but it's hard with her working 2 jobs. Mitch keeps trying to contact her through mutual friends, playing the devoted husband worried about his unstable wife. Some people believe him, which just shows how good he is at manipulation. But at least the truth is finally out. Update 3: Melanie finally filed for divorce last month. It's been a hell of a journey getting here, but she's doing better than any of us expected. She moved in with me since I needed help with rent anyway, and honestly, it's been good for both of us. We've gone completely no contact with Mitch, though he still tries to reach us through fake social media accounts and mutual friends. The biggest revelation came when Mitch's first wife contacted Melanie. Turns out this wasn't his first time targeting vulnerable young women. His ex-wife Linda reached out after hearing about the divorce through mutual church friends. She left him 20 years ago for similar reasons. He had a pattern of pursuing much younger women with trauma backgrounds because they were easier to manipulate. Linda was only 24 when she married him, also after experiencing trauma. He used the same tactics back then, being the supportive older man who understood their pain, then slowly pushing boundaries until they were trapped. Linda shared court documents from their divorce that showed a pattern of emotional manipulation and inappropriate relationships with young women from their church's youth group. The church actually asked him to leave, but kept it quiet to avoid scandal. That's why he started volunteering at hospitals and attending support groups. He needed new hunting grounds after the church cut him off. Mitch still plays the victim to anyone who will listen. He tells people Melanie had a mental breakdown and abandoned him, that I poisoned her against him out of jealousy. He even started a GoFundMe claiming he needs help with legal fees to save his wife from her toxic family. Some people actually donated before we reported it and got it taken down. Some family members still believe him, especially our aunt who thinks Melanie is throwing away a good marriage over a few inappropriate texts. But most people see through him now, especially after Emma and Rachel came forward with their stories. The support group he attended banned him and warned other local groups about him. Melanie is focusing on healing and working towards independence. She quit the gas station job and found better paying work as a virtual assistant. She's back in therapy, this time with a counselor who specializes in helping people who've been manipulated by partners. The therapist helped her see how Mitch deliberately targeted her because of her trauma background. My health is slowly improving too. Having Melanie here helps. We take turns with household tasks depending on my energy levels. She handles the physical stuff on my bad days. I help with her online work when she's exhausted. We're rebuilding our relationship and working through the guilt and pain together. The hardest part for Melanie was accepting that she didn't miss Mitch, she missed who she thought he was. The man she married never existed. He was just a carefully crafted persona designed to prey on vulnerable women. Realizing that helped her stop blaming herself for not seeing the signs sooner. Sometimes the worst situations show you who people really are and who truly has your back. Melanie and I are closer than ever now. We've learned to trust our instincts and support each other. She keeps apologizing for not believing me initially, but I understand why she couldn't. Mitch spent years conditioning her to doubt herself and trust only him. We still have rough days. Melanie sometimes wakes up crying from nightmares, and my health issues aren't going away. But we're handling it together, and that's more than either of us had 6 months ago. Mitch took advantage of both our vulnerabilities, but he underestimated how strong we could be together.